It's Crystal Beast time, which means we're summoning Sapphire Pegasus 30 times, spamming everyone else's boss monsters, setting up infinite negates, and attacking for 11,000 damage. But don't take it from me, you get to learn from your favorite character, Jesse Anderson himself, because once you commit to the bit, there ain't no going back. I've made a handful of Crystal Beast guides by now, showing off the endless ways to play these cards. Each year brings more strategies so that you can build a Crystal Beast deck that represents you, whether that's a trap-heavy control build, or a 60-card combo pile, or something that can pivot between them, depending on how you play your cards. I use physical cards in these videos, but I will be covering Master Duel here as well. Yes, it's time for another Crystal Beast guide with MarkThePage, everyone's favorite upstart Yugi tuber with such glowing reviews as...
Cool name for a channel if your name is Mark.
We've got new ground to cover, because last year I lost a dear friend. Her name was Apollo, and now that she's gone, my opponents might be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I cannot let that happen. So today you can expect a dissertation on the Kaiju engine. Did you know that Gamma Seal has an effect? It negates and banishes everything because it's not once per turn. In this guide, I'll teach you about the many Texan engines that I use in my many Crystal Beast decks. There will even be a section on siding, even how to play around Droll. The final deck list will be up to you. Really, just throw in everything that looks fun and try it out. My own personal list changes every month. There's no one answer here. Oh, speaking of months, stay subscribed because June is National Crystal Beast Month. Just a rainbow dragon flag, you know. Most of the Crystal Beast players I know are straight. We can't have anything to ourselves.
Cards, games, and vlogs all tossed onto a Nintendo Switch. That is so perfect.
For those of you unfamiliar with Crystal Beasts, hello, did the intro not scare you off? Here's a quick primer on what makes Crystal Beasts so awesome. The Crystal Beasts themselves may be mostly bricks, but you will need them to power up the spells. Contrary to most decks, our monsters are just fuel, which means they have been made very easy to throw around. Every time you summon Sapphire, it gets you a crystal. Then, when you summon Ruby, those all turn into monsters, and if any of those were more Sapphires, they'll trigger again to set up your next Ruby swarm. These were the original summon spam, a strategy which has aged beautifully thanks to the extra deck. Golden Rule is just crazy because it sets up for Ruby's effect, then summons and triggers it. We can plus like crazy off of this card, and that enables a lot of other tricks too. Rainbow Bridge of the Heart is our 3 effects custom card, an extra summon, a search, and a bounce. Remove a threat while lining up your crystals, searching for more summons or a counter trap, and reusing this play every turn. In addition to all these materials, we can search for any field spell. With Sapphire also being a 1-card rank 4, the possibilities are endless. My combo strategies typically aim to gather resources along the way to summoning enough materials for Saryuja Skuldred. Its extra draws and summons can then lead to that Kaiju, tag out for World Sea Dragon Zealantis to resummon Ruby and Sapphire for yet another swarm. It really supercharges things. Then, of course, after assembling 7 crystals, you can summon the all-powerful Rainbow Dragon and evolve it into the strongest monster card ever printed. A typical control build runs only a few monsters, focusing on floodgates. Heart searching for traps each turn will keep the opponent pinned down. This video focuses on combo strategies. If you want my fresh take on control, I've got an advanced Crystal Beast guide which should be popping up in the corner here, or maybe it's this one, technology. You will brick sometimes. Crystal Beast was not meant to be a good deck, otherwise we would have a Link 1 and self-summoning searchers. But we can make it good. I do have an even win rate against Malice, Ryziel, Mitsurugi. You can win if you play your cards right. As usual, I will start by playing out a test hand for you to show to your friends who think Crystal Beasts don't do anything. I pretty much always start with Foolish Burial, Goods, getting Salvation in the graveyard, and if it looks like I have a spare crystal search, I like to use one of them to grab Crystal Miracle. Even if the opponent drops Droll on this first search, I can chain Salvation and I will still have 2 negates and a bounce. The Millennium engine here, for the cost of 2,000 life points, lets me summon this guy and search for another Millennium monster. For another 2,000, this will summon itself and search for their field spell. Now I'll activate that temple, but instead of using its effect to get 2 monsters in the back row, which I will use to make a Doom Dragon and then overlay into some protection. I will chain Cosmo Queen's effect to the activation of a field spell, summoning herself, and then I'll use her to destroy the field spell and search for a new one. She's basically Ancient Fairy Dragon. And I have another field spell ready to go, so I'm going to pick Nightmare Throne here, and then she's already level 8, so I can still get protection. This will stop a monster. And put your non-purple extra deck monsters in the middle zones. Nightmare Throne destroys Spirit of Yubel from the deck, which summons regular Yubel. And I'll use these two to link into a sheep. Now there can be some missing the timing stuff involved if you put a Synchro or Xyz in the sheep's linked zones. Keep that in mind. Then from the graveyard, these Yubels can contact fuse into Phantom of Yubel for more negation. I have summoned a purple card underneath the sheep, but I'm not going to trigger sheep's effect just yet. I will use Rainbow Bridge of Salvation to get Kyoto Waterfront, and yes, this is a Crystal Beast deck. With plenty of protection, I can use Rainbow Bridge of the Heart for a free normal summon, triggering Sapphire's effect, placing Rainbow, and I will banish that to summon a level 4 from the deck and search for Rainbow Dragon. 2 level 4s, I pretty much always go for Infernal Flame Banshee, which can then search for Nemeses Flag, which I can summon by returning this back to the deck. Now that a summon can trigger the sheep's effect, on resolution, it's got a fusion monster, so it can summon my level 4 Sapphire Pegasus back from the graveyard and trigger Sapphire's effect, again placing Ruby. I am ready to use Rainbow Bridge of the Heart to destroy this, get Golden Rule, and go nuts. But I've kind of already gone nuts without it, so here's Kyoto Waterfront, and we link summon Saryuja Skulldread to draw 4 cards and put 3 back. And also that puts enough counters on the waterfront that I can now search for a Kaiju. And there's the Golden Rule. I don't think I really need anything else here, but to show you something fun, I'm going to put these back in, and then use Kyoto Waterfront. I can now search for a Kaiju, and with Saryuja's effect, I can summon a monster from my hand. It's also going to gain 300 points, so that's 3,300, and Gamma Seal can remove 2 counters to negate anything and banish it. So we kind of have infinite negates going on, and Crystal Miracle will stop spells that stop monsters. Hold on, I forgot, this is a real moment here. Nemesis Flag is supposed to, after it's summoned, search for Nemesis Corridor. I forgot that step because I've been focusing on narrating my plays for you. Personal challenge for myself, can I make a comeback? I think I would use Noble Knight's Shield Bearer to get another banished monster and search for Sapphire Pegasus, use my second normal summon to play it and get a crystal from the deck. Then I'll use Rainbow Bridge of the Heart to destroy Ruby and get Golden Rule. Golden Rule will place 2 more crystals from the deck and revive a level 4 monster. This is getting pretty silly. I'll use these for Dugaris, detach to use its revival effect to bring back the Nemesis Flag, and now I'll use its effect to get that corridor. And plenty of crystals for Rainbow Dragon. So next I will use these 2 to summon SP because it was summoned using an Xyz monster. I can also banish a monster and then summon Corridor by returning this extra banished monster. Corridor's effect can add a banished Nemesis back to the hand. So I've got this again. Corridor becomes Colossus, and I've got the Crystal Miracle. So yeah, if your friend tries to tell you that Crystal Beasts don't do anything, you can tell them, hey, break this board. And that was with a misplay. Now, if you would like to learn how to make ridiculous plays like that, keep watching, because I'm going to break it down engine by engine. For your monster lineup, of course, you'll need 3 Sapphires, and pack an extra Ruby in case one gets banished. 2 Crystal Rainbows are standard, but if you live on the edge and love recycling with Nemesis, you can cut one of these lousy draws. I highly recommend a second Rainbow Dragon. Drawing your lone copy will prevent the Crystal Beast Rainbow from activating its summon effect, which is necessary for many combos. Because Rainbow counts as an 8th Crystal Beast name, you can cut one of the level 3 vanillas. You'll need both of these if you use Cherubini for 1-turn rainbow combos, but I haven't used her in a long time. You don't need to run 7 crystals. You don't need to summon Rainbow Dragon. I do because the extra commitment is small, it isn't out to many dire situations, and it's fun. I am all about having fun. Competitive as I am, I would gladly make my deck 2% less optimal in exchange for being like 50% more fun. That's worth it to me personally. I am just very determined to represent the rainbow. Control and combo variants use mostly the the same spells. The main difference is how you use them. Rainbow Ruins was a big focus in my previous builds, but without Apollo's monster negation to complete its lockdown, I've removed it outside of Master Duel, feeling discouraged. World Sea Dragon Zealantis resummoning Sapphire was a great way to build up crystals. I don't use World Sea as much either, also because easier sheep combos mean one-turn overdrives don't need as much help anymore. I often run Beacon for an extra search target, and so the limited use Golden Rule isn't my only way to spark a swarm. It may not be as impactful anymore now that any two crystals now have their own play, but we'll get into that. The structure deck had some real sour duds. I give Crystal Aegis a shot in every new build to see if it's finally decent now. Nothing yet. There's almost nothing it can't do that Beacon can't. And there's almost nothing that these can do, period. And yes, you did see Crystal Tree earlier. It's gotten a bit of a boost recently now that excess crystals can be turned into Doom Dragons. I think you should at least give it a try, especially in multiples, because the crystals placed by one tree will put another counter on the other. It is at least not as obsolete as some other spells. Even though, yes, I do routinely test these again, and no, they're still bad. Bad cards, go away. Not everyone uses Salvation because it stinks to draw, but I always do because of the power and combo pile nonsense it offers. I love field spells, but do make sure that you have a way to discard it if drawn. Please don't use this with only one field spell in your deck. You're gonna brick even harder. This is one of the main reasons to play Crystal Beasts. If you're gonna play Crystal Beasts, you gotta commit. And yes, I do have more field spells in here. Lastly, Crystal Conclave used to be a central card in a certain control build you may have heard of, which proved very effective against graveyard strategies like Tear Laments. Run a copy if you're on Rainbow Ruins, so you can do this combo, which gets up to 4 negations and a bounce. Remember, the counter trap from the graveyard can get you an extra crystal. Lastly, if you are interested in advanced Crystal Beasts, that control build I mentioned earlier is the only way I recommend running them. They're generally thought of as the most turbo variant, but personally, I've never liked that approach. You'll be seeing a lot of the crochet sheep today. Although the regular Rainbow Dragon can be summoned when you have your crystals anywhere in play, Overdrive requires 7 Crystal Beast monsters. It cannot banish crystals in the back row. So what we've done is use the sheep and summon a purple card under it. You can tag out Rainbow Dragon for Rainbow Overdragon. It's just a slightly bigger beat stick. This triggers Sheep's effect to revive Ruby and move these up. Then you lucky Master Duel players can pile these into Apollo for negation. Overdragon has largely been replaced by the incredible Snake Eyes Doom Dragon. Any 2 crystals can now be exchanged for a Blue Eyes White Dragon that also crystallizes an opposing monster, a form of removal which few decks will be able to undo. And if you need to clear out even more crystals, this will also trigger the sheep. You can do your Ruby stuff. You can even zap your own Sapphire so that the Ruby you're summoning can resummon it for an extra crystal. I went into a lot more detail in the dedicated Doom Dragon guide that was posted just before this. You can think of all of my Crystal Beast videos as one giant guide because we do not have enough time to review every combo in every installment. The first engine I'll cover is Nemeses, which remains a staple for me. I made a separate guide for these too last year, and most of it still applies. As a level 4 deck that vanishes, Crystal Beasts can easily use Infernal Flame Banshee to search and summon Nemesis Flag. In addition to replenishing your banished monsters, it'll search out one of 2 game-winning boss monsters, Thunder Dragon Colossus or an Arch Nemesis. The Arch Nemesis of choice depends on the meta, but it's usually Protoss who locks out attributes. A single Sapphire can make SP and Colossus. This is a solid control play for minimal resources. However, putting SP in the extra monster zone means you aren't playing Sheep or Saryuja, ending your turn early, whereas a combo turn likely could have made something better. So don't do this unless it's the only safe play you have. Or, one of the most important skills for a high-level duelist is knowing how to avoid huge rocks. Last year, I lamented that many creative combo decks had lost their ability to play around this unless they invested in these new expensive cards. But even so, you won't always draw this, or this, or this. A skilled duelist must always have a backup plan. If we can't stop the rock, we'll have to muscle through it, using this expensive new card. At least it got a good reprint. In the 1-card play, the opponent can drop their rock here. And they will, because if they don't, then SP can respond by warping Colossus to safety. So you can force your opponent to use it, countering just this one card play, and then you're free to do your real combo with the other 4. Plus, if you let these get turned into a token, or as I call it, link material, you can revive Corridor later in this turn, and it can still become Colossus. Just be prepared for when this fake out actually goes through, and now you actually are ending on SP and Colossus instead of your 10-minute wombo combo. Are you able to pivot into a control strategy? Can you add Miracle and Heart to this board? Infernal Flame Banshee is turning 2 monsters into 2 monsters plus a boss for later. So if you're about to link summon Saryuja with 2 level 4s involved, there's little reason not to take a detour through the Nemeses engine for a bonus. Also, Saryuja requires 4 different monsters to summon, so if 2 of your monsters are sapphires you were spamming, you would need to turn them into something else anyway. In last year's guide, I sang the praises of Revolution Synchron, which helps us to unite Leo and Luna's Signer Dragons into one deck. Not Leo's deck, not Luna's deck, Jesse Anderson from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, who's never heard of Synchros.
Synchro what? Synchro summon. What summon? It's where you play a monster. Wait! I seem to have stopped caring.
Give that video a watch if you haven't already. Revolution tunes from the hand to make Power Tool Dragon, which searches for Golden Rule, then it comes back at level 1 to make Crystal Wing to protect your Golden Rule play. Last year I recommended using the also thematically appropriate Herald of the Arclight to get protection and get Ruby off the field, but with Doom Dragon and Sheep it's no longer necessary. You can also use Arclight to make a rank 4. I have done it before. I've done everything before. Except that. Unless... You can also use that second Synchro summon to drop Naturia Beast. I would hate you if you did. Very rude to negate all my spells. Bad memories. It's just not going to help if all you have is a level 3 or 2. But a third of your deck should be ways to a level 4, so I think it's a fair trade-off. Of course, I also have my buttload of field spells, and this can make Ancient Fairy Dragon to cycle through them, and special summon Ruby or Sapphire from the hand. As you know, my combo decks are insane, so I'm not stopping there. I'm still using Clockwork Knight. One day I was frustrated by bricking on Salvation and Goods together, so I searched for every spell and trap with a discard effect from the graveyard. Having more discard outlets has made both of these more consistent. Yeah, we're gonna get to this too, trust me. Worst case, Clockwork has flipped some games just through the stat boosts and messing with type-based effects. If you don't see anything morally incorrect about running 7 field spells, may I recommend Dragon Ravine. Ravine and Destrudo making a level 7 Synchro out of anything is an easy way to get to Golden Rule, or through Ancient Fairy Dragon, it can function like another copy of Terraforming. And like, let's say you get to this point and your Ruby's negated, or it was a different Crystal Beast that had no effect, keep going by linking these into a Sheep and then spend these to make a Doom Dragon. Sheep revives Sapphire, Sapphire places a Rainbow, Rainbow gets you a level 4, and now you have Saryuja, and you can also go through the Nemeses and Colossus detour as usual. Dragon Ravine's discard cost is also well appreciated in this deck, and in some niche situations when I've had spells in need of fuel but no Crystal Beasts, Ravine has been a field spell that can get me to a Crystal Beast. If I have Golden Rule, it'll place some crystals, revive Rainbow, and I can now go forward from here. Not the kind of play you hope to be doing, but it's gotten me out of some scrapes. The way it goes, I'd lose for bricking on these two, and then I'd lose for having sided them out. I don't think my father, the inventor of Toaster Destrudo, would be too pleased to hear about this. Those losses were before Doom Dragon, though, so Ravine deserves a second chance. Yes, even this deck can use Diabellstar, the Seeker of Sinful Spoilers. What's that? Yami Yugi's real name is Cornelius? What a dork! Trade a spent field spell, or a crystal, or discard Salvation to summon Diabellstar, and search for Deception of the Sinful Spoils. Deception turns a monster into an Azamina spell, which reveals the true form of the Sinful Spoils to be Negation. Now, easy protection with a discard outlet would be convincing enough, but this goes harder. Diabellstar herself can be searched by the quick spell Wanted, which will redeem a draw if you get to the end of this play. Because of the discarding, these are totally safe to run in multiples. Grander plays are possible in a dedicated White Forest deck, but that requires more Sinful Spoils, and this is not a dedicated deck. I'm just yoinking her good stuff. And other sentences I can only get away with because of For a deck which splashes Azamina for protection, Debtors is the superior spell, because on your next turn, it can be banished from the graveyard to revive your negation. Also, being purple makes this another way to go sheep. Just be mindful that if the opponent tries to chain negation to the sheep and you have to tribute this to counter that, you no longer have a purple monster linked, so it won't do anything on resolution. The other downside is that unless you started by drawing Wanted, and this whole play goes through so you can get to the draw, then you have basically spent 2 cards out of your hand to counter just 1 opposing card. It may be more efficient to run more crystal cards and just power through whatever interruption Sylvia was trying to stop. I spent big bucks on Deception, then immediately the meta moved away from single-use Disruption and over to floodgates like Droll and Mulcharmies, which the Azamina stuff plays right into. It is at least a package of cards that you can safely side out to make room for your counters in Game 2. You do need non-essential cards in your main deck to allow for siding. There's also that upcoming Dark Magician card that turns any high-level spellcaster into a free Dragoon, which I really hope will be banned by then, but knowing Konami, they're going to wait until the new card is off the shelves before banning Dragoon. And we're going to have another 6 months of another Tier 0 engine. I mean, it's gotta be banned. They're still printing new Dark Magician fusions, none of which will ever be worth summoning over Dragoon. I don't want to go through another format of every deck spamming Dragoon. We didn't do that at North Academy. When I was having a rough time and then Apollo got banned, that felt personal. This is a great card. There should be more cards like it, but only for my deck, obviously. Now that the only woman I've ever loved is forbidden, I have turned to war crimes. Kind of like the Trojan War. Well, actually, there probably wasn't a war fought because some king was mad about his wife hooking up with someone else, but far more destructive wars have been fought for far dumber reasons. If anyone tells you to commit genocide so he can have some tea and spices, don't do it. Tell him to go to the grocery store. This stuff is $3. It's not a big deal. All you have to do for Gameciel to negate and banish anything is remove 2 counters from the field spell, which also searches for it and protects itself. Every card sent from the field to the graveyard reloads a Kaiju counter, which actually means that Gameciel banishing what it negates is a limiting factor. That's right, whoever designed this card was smart enough to know that it would have to banish what it negates, but not smart enough to realize that if banishing negation is a limiting factor, then something is very wrong with this card. It's nice to main a searchable Kaiju, since this can remove any opposing monster. But don't give this to the opponent after searching for it with a Kyoto Waterfront that you still have active, or else they will be able to use the negation effect. Summon it only to your field by using Saryuja to summon it from your hand, or discard it and revive it from the graveyard. If you're really hardcore, tribute summon it. Nobody will see that coming. Nobody's tribute summoned since the war. A Kaiju build requires a different mindset, as Saryuja can't be summoning Crystal Beast from the hand anymore. You need to save that summon effect for the Kaiju. This also means Saryuja becomes a bigger choke point. But hey, it's times like that you link it off for SP, SP banishes it, you return it to the extra deck to summon a Nemeses, and you link summon Saryuja again. Saryuja Skull Dread is not once per turn. Do with that information what you will. This means you are not using another field spell for your end board, so this is an alternative to Rainbow Ruins and Necro Valley stuff. And be sure to get a trap card into your end board so you can stop the spells that stop Gameciel. On Master Duel, where I still have a choice, I still prefer my end board negation coming from Apollo and Ruins. But again, I just like rainbows, it's a personal thing. Everybody knows the Horus engine by now, right? It's a discard outlet that gives you a bunch of chunky boys who either stand there menacingly or overlay into active protection. They also have a field spell, which can put an unwanted Rainbow Dragon back in the deck. The only bad draw would be whatever non-Imseti monster you run. Probably Duamutef for its draw effect. You can pad this up with more copies of Imseti if that's in your budget. It does leave a continuous spell in play, so you shouldn't use this alongside Rainbow Ruins or other engines which leave their own cards back there. The downside is that unless you have things that you want to put back in the deck with Walls of the Imperial Tomb, or things that you want to discard with Imseti and the Sarcophagus, this is going to take quite a few cards out of your hand. You'll get your protection, but at what cost? Upside is that they're also very good cards in a grind. You've probably heard of the Springans combo. Use Sapphire for a rank 4, summoning Merrymaker and sending Springans Kit to the graveyard. Rank up to the champion, who searches for Tally Ho, summoning 2 skits who can link it to Farragut. Wait, wrong Crystal Beast deck. Here, we're just using whatever two Springans, Rocky and Brothers, for the very rare chance that their effects may actually be relevant. These cards allow you to turn a simple rank 4 into Saryuja. Plus, you've got 2 level 4s so you can take the Nemeses detour. This gives you an efficient burst of power that can bait out Disruption or push through it, depending on whether you start with this or do some other plays first. The downsides to Springans are 3 bad cards in the main deck and 2 slots out of our very cramped extra deck. I'm not giving up my Synchros. Second weakness, these will make you even more vulnerable to Droll and Charmies. And third, although Springans are unmatched for material spam, outside of Master Duel we currently only have 1 Link 4 to make, which the sheep can handle. Don't forget about this triggering Champion's effect to remove an opposing card or bounce a used up spell back to your hand to be fed to Saryuja. You can even set and destroy Salvation with this, but that'll backfire terribly if Tally-Ho gets negated. I talked about the Odion / Tombkeeper cards in my YCS vlog, and I'll be making a separate video for them, but for now, here's a quick rundown. And yes, Mark is using the man with the mark. It's like half the reason why I got the card. I summoned myself to the field! The new Odion / Tombkeeper cards from Maze of the Master are shockingly powerful and resilient, and they have a field spell, Bring in the Crystal Beasts! I didn't think this would actually work, but it turns out that the man with the MarkThePage is level 4 and banishes a monster so he can even do the SP and Colossus play. Yeah, you could just run 20 interruptions and some Fiendsmiths, but that's boring, and you're here to have fun. First though, a primer for those unfamiliar. As a Yu-Gi-Oh card released in 2025, Mark is a +8 if uninterrupted. This wins duels all on its own, which is why Mark received an erratum, and his current text reads, when this card is summoned, discard infinite impermanence from the opponent's hand. Which is great because that's actually why he's here, to draw negation away from my main engine and leave a level 4 body. Mark's purpose on this earth is for you to do whatever you want to him. He's been stuck in a tomb for 30 years. He's very lonely. So yeah, I follow up with something like Bond, placing Rainbow to continue into an Xyz summon, and so on. So either he gets you that giant field, or gets rid of the opponent's negation. If you have a spare field search, Treasures setting Apophis makes for an easy way to bolster a defensive play. These can also make Saryuja if you want to, so no matter what kind of play you're going for, the man with the mark's got your back. Hey Yubes, was no one gonna tell me that Nightmare Throne on its own is a material and negation? I can't mention Yubel without thinking about...
There's someone inside me who believes in me.
It's nice that Jaden has found a supportive top.
Hang on. Jaden assigned bottom at birth.
And I'm Jesse, which makes me a top. Checkmate! Simply activating Nightmare Throne gives you a monster negate. It'll destroy Spirit of Yubel from the deck, which will summon regular Yubel. You are then free to spend this as a tribute or link material. Either way, these will go back in the deck no matter where they are, and you get Phantom of Yubel, which will change an opposing monster effect to destroy Spirit of Yubel again, and you're basically reverting back to the regular Yubel. Why are people using the other Yubel cards? The negation is right here! Get rid of these 0 attack losers! Chuck them to the bottom of a well where they belong! Crucially, this gets you to your monster negation without adding any cards to your hand. It beats Droll, so consider finding some room for extra copies of that Nightmare Throne. Plus, this is yet another purple boy, or NB. Man, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX was gay. Just remember that according to Yubel, the key to Jaden's love was this man's body. This body has led countless men to ruin. Would you like to call yourself among them? You could. Limited time offer. My biological clock is ticking. These are also yet another way to make Saryuja, because you get to make your sheep and then return these to make Phantom of Yubel, which will bring back your Sapphire, and you get another crystal. You can then get another level 4, go through Dagaris to summon Sapphire again, get a Doom Dragon as well. Go for Saryuja, you've got protection. And also, you are triggering sheep on the 4th summon, so there's no risk of having to tribute this to stop a rock, and then losing sheep's effect on resolution, because there would no longer be any purples. This also leaves in play another gosh dang field spell, which means you can convert that into a draw, other combos, other field spells. We have field spells! We have them! Shh! It's okay.
Add one field spell from your deck to your hand.
If you do your Nemeses stuff later, SP can also banish a used Phantom of Yubel. Nemeses will return it to the deck, and you'll be able to summon it again immediately. You can also do this if Nightmare Throne happens to survive the turn. When Phantom of Yubel basically reverts back into regular Yubel, if the opponent removes this with an effect, you can return this to the extra deck, and when your next turn rolls around, you return these and get Phantom again. That said, there are 3 reasons not to cosplay as Dark Jessie. No interactions with your other engines, 2 more bricks in the main deck, and you do not look like that. You do not have oiled up anime boy muscles. You have Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You made your choice. You can mitigate the bricks by using Tokusha no Shiko Yojin, which is also a way to offload a spare Rainbow Dragon. I don't have time to try every potential support card, so if you have used this, if you like it or love it, leave us a review in the comments. Oh, it works with Anubis too. You've probably thought about the Millennium monsters, which also turn into continuous spells. The synergy is limited, but they can be used without Exodia as a rank 8 engine. Any of these 3 cards can get you to a rank 8 for protection, or if you have no Crystal Beast to use with Heart or Golden Rule, 4 chances to find one, but also fill the opponent's graveyard. Unfortunately, Weju Temple requires a monster card from your hand, so unlike other editions, this won't be discarding Salvation or Clockwork. The Millennium summons also cost up to 4,000 life points. That hurts, and unless you're playing Master Duel, this means you'll have to side them out for game 3, or you may lose in time. Depending on what the time rule is when you're watching this. Oh boy, remember that other video I made? Maybe you do. MBT reacting to my video got more views than the video itself. The upsides to using Millennium for your protection are that no cards in this small package will brick, unless you didn't draw any other monsters. It's efficient too. Worst case, your Millennium gets ashed and you have material for Doom Dragon. For comparison, Azamina and Horus have 1 brick each, and will break even only if you start with a certain card, and nothing gets negated. Horus can be especially bad for your hand size. The similar Yubel is also accessible through a field spell and requires no further cost, but has 2 bricks. Millennium looks like the safest option, with no bricks or bad trades, but its fail chance comes from the possibility of not drawing any monsters to feed to Weju Temple, and being sided out for game 3, depending on the rules of your format. And then there's the Odion stuff, which tries to muscle through negation instead of stopping it. But it is a much bigger package and will often require a normal summon. So in conclusion, sorry, but I cannot definitively tell you that any of these routes is better or worse than the others. You're just gonna have to pick whatever vibes with you, if you want to run any of these. Like, these work better with a field focus, these can work better with high monster counts. There's no one best way to play. But if you're wondering, I currently prefer Yubel and Millennium. That's what I'm working with at the moment. Somehow, I still have to talk about Snake Eyes. The spell that made them good is gone, so now they're basically Springans, a rank 4 that goes Saryuja, but you have to spend Sheep and Banshee without getting Nemeses Flag. If you run the Bricky Flamberge, you can also get a pair of level 1 materials out of this, but Crystal Beasts are not equipped to make use of these. You can also reach Saryuja by normal summoning Ash, or using Bonfire to get Poplar. If you really like the cards, and for some reason you don't want to search out the amazing Nemeses Floodgates, these can work, but you only get 1 Banshee search, and man, I cannot imagine running Crystal Beasts without Nemeses. It's like the theme's only purpose is to be splashable floodgates. Alright, so what the heck is up with this new Ancient Fairy Dragon support? Basically, Regulus is a normal summon that, if uninterrupted, results in Ancient Fairy Dragon, a field search, and a draw. Spore can come back to climb up to level 8, 9, or 10, but you'd be locked into synchros. Maybe a Crystal Wing if this survives to the end of your plays. The World of Spirits can search for Regulus, but Regulus needs that search to get to Spore for this combo to work. This support crosses over with our Light Fairy, but not particularly well. Again, the Regulus play is not flexible unless you have Revolution Synchron in hand. You really must draw, normal summon, and resolve Regulus. This engine is unplayable otherwise. For added weirdness, you can use the manga support whenever that gets here, but again, they are inflexible. Neither these nor Prologue will get anywhere without the other. So despite being Ancient Fairy Dragon Turbo, I have not found them to play well in a big deck. If any of you have figured out how to build with Luna's cards, I would love to hear from you in the comments, because I have tried so many things and nothing has produced consistent results. They've all felt like dead ends. Maybe I'm just playing my cards wrong. There's a first time for everything. Lately, I've been dreaming of the perfect engine. Something that can extend a Crystal Beast play or create one if I don't draw any Crystal Beasts. Basically, I pulled up every Crystal Beasts tips page on Wikipedia to see what searches for them, although those lists do not include things that send to the graveyard. If you combine this deck with a level 3 theme, they can make Cherubini, which can pull Ruby out of the deck for Golden Rule. If you have level 7 monsters, they can make Arsenal Falcon. This will summon Cobalt Eagle from the deck, so you can also use Heart. Just normal summon Rise Heart so you don't get locked out of links. Or, hear me out, Allure Palace is a field spell, so it's searchable. It discards, which can be helpful. So basically what you do is Allure Palace gives you discards to turn into Allure Queens. Chaos Allure Queen can discard one of them to summon herself, equip, and that'll also special summon an Allure Queen from the deck. You can play the biggest one, scoop up an opposing monster. If they are equipped, they contribute to summon spellcasters from the deck. So we go for Crystal Master, that joke of a pendulum monster. Gets you any Crystal Beast card, Crystal Spell, Rainbow Dragon, anything. And if you commit more to this, the Allure Queens are their own theme and they can make Saryuja. They also have a search spell, though this is kind of like the Horus and Azamina engines in that you kind of have to hit Allure Dance or it's not efficient. You saw we had to discard twice. But with Allure Dance, after you do this stuff and you get your Crystal Master, you can then send Allure Palace to the graveyard. It'll summon 4 Allure Queens and you get your free Saryuja. They can also link up into a pretty tough boss monster, which will then bring one of them back, and you can mess with your opponent in a few ways. They get protection. I know it's out of character for me to touch such scantily clad lady cards, but Chaos Allure Queen is usually equipping other Allure Queens. Is it gay if it's yourself? We may be oil and water, but I am not leaving you lesbians out. There are other ways to support Crystal Master. You could dump him out of the deck with Cherubini and then revive him with like Dugara's Sheep or Selene, but that's taking so many materials, it's not going to be worth one search. Now for the bargain bin, the random texts for you to try that haven't yet been mentioned in other videos. What do you do when you've got things you want to discard, spare crystals, extraneous field spells, and continuous spells? Why, you call in Magician Souls and turn them into a draw 2. And then it serves as link material. I feel like it hurts as much as it helps though, because it doesn't interact with Crystal Beasts or most of the engines I've covered here. It's mostly like if you have things that already went well, you can keep on going. Plus, thanks to Doom Dragon, spare crystals in the back row already have an inherent purpose. But hey, if you don't play many monsters in your build, it may work well there. Kya Hyo Reigetsu, Song Ice, Grace, and Moon, is just a way to special summon Ruby and show Kaiba the door. Being a 4th equip spell means that even if you already have Golden Rule, you still have enough in the deck to activate Power Tool Dragon. At the very least, you can trick the opponent into negating it, making them think you didn't have Golden Rule already. It's also good with the Man with the Mark and Allure Queen level 3. If there's some other equip spell that you're playing with Crystal Beasts, let us know in the comments. Again, I don't have all the answers myself. If you have a spare slot in the extra deck and you run Salvation, this new Utopia guy is just an excuse to discard it. Rank 4 already has ways to get Salvation in the graveyard, but this lets you do your regular rank 4 stuff and then get the discard on top of it, even if your rank 4 gets negated. And as you may remember from the beginning of this video, another card for you field spell enthusiasts is Cosmo Queen, the Queen of Prayers, Queen Cosmo Queen game Yu-Gi-Oh card game Queen game. You saw she takes one field spell and turns it into another. She's got the same effect as Ancient Fairy Dragon, the Ancient Dragon of Fairies Dragon Queen, and she's level 8 if you want to make Photon Lord after. Oh, there it is, remember that? Monster negation. I'm kind of neutral on Cosmo Queen, but as you saw, I like to try things out, and sometimes it works. She's also pretty chunky. You know, like me. Particularly if you run the Diabellstar stuff, this alternate search target can move up a crystal every turn. Definitely worth considering in those slower control builds. Plus, it's free of sin. You don't find that round every corner these days. I've seen the Google images. A great duelist knows how to use the side deck during a tournament match. With all the summoning we do, all the charmies hit us hard. You could just sit on Baguska, but does that really do it anymore? Sometimes I think even giving the opponent a few draws on the way to SP and Colossus can be worth it, particularly if I'm able to back that up with a trap. Floodgates tend not to care how many cards the opponent draws. Like any silly combo deck, we lose to Droll. It's actually quite survivable, as you saw in the beginning. I prioritize Crystal Miracle. If you leave Salvation in the graveyard, you can chain that to get a couple more searches. Nightmare Throne will turn into negation for you. You can also use Treasures of the Kings, which will set Apophis the Serpent from the deck, getting you Apophis the Swamp Deity, negating any face-up card on the field if you started with the Man with the Mark. He can also search for Verdict of Anubis, which is another way to negate, and it's also like a Regeki effect. Triple Tactics Thrust has been a lifesaver. If they drop Droll on you, drop Dimensional Barrier on them, skip their turn. And going second, it's like an extra Rainbow Bridge, which is any card you want. Threat can be safely mained in decks that have a normal trap to set. We unfortunately have to settle for Infinite Impermanence because Salvation is unplayable on the field. Because Konami hates Crystal Beasts almost as much as we love them. Remember, in order to side cards in, you must also side cards out. You need to put some fluff in the main deck, whether that's just a pile of cheap interruptions or an engine you can side out. Oh, and even if you can't get the searches of Leo and Luna's level 7 synchros, Revolution Synchron can still get you to a monster negation. You're not hopeless. That is the importance of building a versatile deck. My best performances going second have come from going all in on combos. Bond, Rule, and Goods into Salvation are all spells that increase the number of cards you have, so you can trade favorably against Disruption. It is surprisingly not that hard to scrounge up 4 materials from somewhere, hit Saryuja, and go nuts. That concludes this year's big update to the Crystal Beast Guide. Or at least one part of it. Links to the other guides are in the description. As you can tell, I really, really love this deck and its 100 variations, and if you're still watching, chances are you do too. Even if you don't have a Crystal Beast deck yet, I hope that you will enjoy throwing it all in a pile and seeing how it plays out. I will be putting out more guide videos as they're ready. I really appreciate you guys, and I'm pushing myself very hard to get all these videos done. These are also a ton of work, and my channel is about more than just Yu-Gi-Oh! I also make Pokemon, Nintendo, vlog stuff. Thank you very much for sticking around and for checking out any of my other videos if you like this stuff. I'm still thinking about ways to grow the audience, because the bigger the audience is, the more I can do. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a crazy game. Do what's fun, play it in the ways that are fun. My channel is all about having fun with this game. And other games. Look, I was a vlogger for 8 years before I started making Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos.